In today's tutorial, let's learn how to do one of the blocks for the 4 blocks of the baby sampler Afghan. That's coming up right after this. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as Yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we're going to work on the baby sampler Afghan. This is one of 4 videos in order to complete that Afghan. There are 4 different types of blocks and each one have some unique stitching that is really quite amazing. So I don't say that this is a hard Afghan, but you will definitely learn some new stitches. So within today's tutorial you're going to learn one of the blocks that you see here, and then there's 3 other tutorials. In order to find them really quickly, you can always come on the crochetcrowd.com, enter the baby sampler Afghan into the actual search engine, and then all 4 of these videos will be in one article so that you can quickly scan through. So without further ado, let's start one of the blocks now. Each one of the blocks that we have for the sampler, there's only 12 blocks in total, so there's only 4 different types of blocks, so therefore you'll need to do 3 of each block in order to complete the configuration that you see. The color choices that you're seeing here are just completely optional. Again, you can make it customized to suit whoever it's going to be gifted to. The Afghan calls for Caron Simply Soft. Now you'll notice that the Caron Simply Soft, the drape is very beautiful on these and the luster is great. It's a premium acrylic and so it turns out really quite fabulous. Today's tutorial I'm going to be using Bernat Super Value in order to show you, because that's what I'm choosing to use. Of course you just have to make sure that the hook complements the yarn, and you'll need a size 6mm size J crochet hook today. Now today's instructions, they are not provided in crochet diagram format, so they're only in written words, and that's why there's a tutorial today. And basically you don't see a lot of instructions because there's a lot of repeat stuff going on within these blocks, and so all you just need to do is pay attention to the amount of rows that you're doing. Okay, so the finals is a round, and basically it's the border that goes around each one of the squares. So you need to really carefully pay attention to the row numbers, because I don't believe, if I remember, I did these a while back, not all the rows are the exact same height. And the reason for that is that not all the stitches are the same height. So basically you just gotta continue to watch for these rows, and then the final has a round that is on each one of them, and it makes for a beautiful border. Well, this is block number 3. So block number 3 is actually really interesting. I've never actually done anything like this before. I was actually kinda concerned I wasn't even capable of doing it, but it was actually really cool. Almost reminds me of tail feathers of a bird, just how we have. So it consists of 2 repeat rows as we go up, and basically the fans kind of fall in between each other, and it's a really cool idea. So without further ado, let's get started on doing this one. So remember, we're using a 6mm size J crochet hook today. You can use Caron Simply Soft, and I'm using Bernat Super Value here on camera. So let's begin, and remember that the slip knot never counts as 1. So what we have here, it says in the instructions to chain 44. So chain 44. So let's begin. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Please go all the way to number 44, and then I'll meet you back here. We'll start row number 1. So let's begin row number 1. So unlike the rest of the blocks that we've been doing so far in blocks 1 and 2, the way that we're starting these blocks in row number 1 is unusual. So the other ones we had been doing single crochet along the chain. This one we're gonna jump right into the pattern. So it says 3 double crochets into the 4th chain from the hook. So you have to just count back 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Turn it around, get the back hump of that chain, and put in 3 double crochets into that particular chain. So 1, 2, and 3. And that begins as a double crochet right here, that one that you skipped, and then here is 3 here. So let's continue in the pattern. It says skip the next 2 stitches, or next 2 chains, so 1 and 2. And so we're gonna go to the 3rd one and double crochet into the next 2 chains. So we're in the 3rd one over, just double crochet once and double crochet into the next chain. Okay, skip next 2 chains, okay, and the 3rd one over you're going to put 3 double crochets into there. Okay, and keeping along in the instructions, the next chain is also going to be 3 double crochets. So that's right, so you have 2 chains in a row that have 3 double crochets into each. It'll make sense in a bit, just gotta stick with it. Okay, so this is what it looks like so far. Okay, so you see 2 chains or 2 double crochets in a row, you have 2 groups of 3. So let's continue in the pattern again. So so let's go back. I'm looking at the instructions. It says skip the next 2 chains right there and double crochet into the next 2. So the third one over, double crochet the next 2. So 1 and 2. Okay, skip the next 2 chains and put in 3 double crochets into the third one over. So 1, 2 and 3, and then in the next chain put another 3 double crochets into it. So this is what the fan's kind of looking like. It doesn't look like this on the particular pattern because the next row is what defines it and gives it that lift of the tail feathers that you see. So continue that same patterning going all the way across. So remember, skip 2 and double crochet into the next 2. So the third one over you're gonna double crochet plus the next one. Okay, skip 2 chains, third one over, 3 double crochets. So 1, 2 and 3, and then double crochet 3 more times into the next one. So continue that same pattern going all the way across, and I'll meet you at the end of the other side and I'll show you what to do at the end of this row. So coming up to the end of the chain you're gonna have your 2 double crochets. So then you're gonna skip 2, 3 double crochets into the second one over. So it's the second last one, but you're still just maintaining the pattern as what you're doing. And if all else fails, just look on the other side and how you started it, and it's basically it's a mirror image. So 3 double crochets and then 1 double crochet will be into the final stitch of this whole row. Okay, and that makes a lot of sense because over here you had 1 double crochet standing by itself and then 3, and so you're finishing off on this side. See, 3 and then just 1. Let's turn our work and then go for row number 2. So let's go for row number 2. Let's turn our work. And this is a kind of a complicated row. I'm not going to deny that to you, but let's just try to work on it nice and slowly together, and it does work out. I did figure it out, so it's not impossible. So let's go. Chain 3. So 1, 2 and 3, and that counts as a first double crochet here and throughout this project. So let's continue along in the instructions. It says double crochet into the next double crochet. So the next one that you see is a double crochet. And it says to skip the next 2 double crochets. Okay, so we're gonna skip the next 2 in per the instructions. I'm kind of reading as I'm going here, and basically it says front post treble and 2 double crochets into the next double crochet. So what basically we're gonna start off and we're gonna do a front post treble into this one right here. So if I pull it apart, we're just skipping these 2 that appear in the fan kind of area, but I'm just going for these 2. So a front post treble, so we wrap the hook twice going around the first one of the 2 just like this, and then we're gonna put 2 double crochets, so we kind of turn it back up and get the top of that same stitch for 2 double crochets. This is what's creating that tail feather. Okay, I've never seen a project do this before, so this is why it was kind of confusing for me. Okay, and now in the next one we're going to do 2 double crochets to start. So 1 and 2, and we're gonna do a front post treble into that same stitch. So okay, so we're gonna wrap twice and come down and do a treble. And what this is doing is it's causing it to lift up just like you see here. Does that make sense? Hopefully so. So continuing along the pattern, so you have your fans that you see here. So you're gonna skip the first 2 and the 2 middle ones for this row only. Okay, this is the only time it appears, is that you're gonna be putting in 2 double crochets one after another. So just and it's right in the center there. So this is helping to maintain the pattern. So row number 2 is not a repeat pattern. We're just trying to get it all set up so then when we do rows 3 and 4, which is the repeat pattern, that we can be all ready for it. So let's begin to go again. So we're gonna create another one of these fan shapes here, and we're gonna do it right into these two that are standing by themselves. So we're gonna skip the first two and just immediately do a front post treble into the first one of the two, and then we're gonna turn the project up a little bit so that we can see that stitch, and it's the same stitch, and we're gonna put in 2 double crochets into that same one. So there's actually 3 stitches playing with this within this one. We come to the second one then, like the second post or the next stitch, and 2 double crochets, and finalize it off with the front post treble around the same one. Okay, so we skip the next 2, and these 2 are the middle ones. Do you see that there's 3? The 2 are the middle, and we're gonna put 1 double crochet into each of those. So let me just review this one once again. This is row number 2. So we skip the next 2, and we're just gonna play within these 2 here. We're gonna start it off with the front post treble, and then we're gonna put 2 double crochets into the same one. Okay, the next one is the second one over, so just starting it off with 2 double crochet and finalize it off with the front post treble. Please do that same patterning going all the way, and you can see that the lift and everything is starting to happen as a result. When you come up to the end of that row, you're just gonna do this fancy footwork as you see, and then the final 2 stitches of this row will be 1 double crochet into each of the final 2. Remember, you have to go into that turning one as well. Okay, so if you're ever in doubt, again with this one, look back. See how you have 2 standing by itself and then the fan work, and you see the 2 in the middle? Okay, so you have that kind of same configuration going on at the end, just like that. Let's turn our work, and we're gonna go for row number 3, which is the repeat row from 3 to 4 for the entire duration of the rest of this block. So we're gonna turn our work and go up for row number 3. So row number 3. So row number 3, we're gonna do back post trebles this time instead of the front post, because this is a one-sided pattern. So I never showed you on this in the intro, but basically you can see that you see all the fans in the front, but in the back side it's completely flat. Okay, so this is a one-sided pattern. So for row number 3, we are going to be working back post trebles when we're going to work on this. Let's begin right from the start. So row number 3, chain 3 to begin, 1, 2 and 3, and it says 2 double crochets and then a back post treble into the next stitch. So we come into the next stitch and we're gonna do 2 double crochets first, and then we're gonna do a back post treble. To do a back post treble, we're gonna wrap the hook twice, coming into from behind around that same stitch, in through the front to the front side of me, and then back out. Okay, I will review this again. Wrap the hook, pull through 2, 2 and 2. It seems complicated because you're working with that stitch already, but this is how this pattern works. We're now gonna skip the next 2 stitches, so just be very careful here, because the one that is being the front post treble over here, it kinda looks like it's being hidden. Remember, that counts as one of them. Okay, so just gotta look for the group of the 3 stitches, and you're gonna play within the middle 2 for doing the next 2 stitches. So 2 double crochets into the middle 2. So you can either remember it by skipping over 2 and then double crocheting into the next 2, or just look for the group of 6 and you're only crocheting into the middle 2 of the 6. So let's begin. So we're gonna do a back post treble into the next one here. So you got your 2 in a row just like we did down below, and we need to do a back post treble. So we wrap the hook first, come in from the back, out through the back, and double crochet as normal. It's a back post treble, or treble crochet as normal, and then you're just gonna come into that same top stitch and double crochet 2 more times. So 1 and 2. come to the next one. So the next one is 2 double crochets first, and then it's a back post treble. So wrapping the hook around to the back, okay, back out, and treble as normal, just like that. Okay, so now we have another group of 6, so you can either skip over 2, you'll get to the right answer, or just look for the middle 2 and 1 double crochet each. So let's review one more time. So we're just looking for the next 2 that are by themselves. We're going to back post treble for the first one to start, and then we're going to do 2 trebles right on top of it, the same stitch, or sorry, 2 double crochets right on top. Okay, the next stitch we're gonna start off with 2 doubles first, and then a back post treble. So have you figured out why it's reversing like that? It's because it's a fan, so you have to do that trebling as the last stitch of the fan as well as the first stitch. Do you see that? So continue that same patterning going all the way across. So your next stitch, then look for the group of 6, double crochet into the middle, 2 stitches right in there. Okay, continue that and I'll meet you at the end of this row. Coming up to the end of this row, we still have to treat these final 2 as if it's a portion of the fan. Okay, so basically when we started we had the fan shapes just like so, and so we need to create a half a fan just like you see here. Okay, so to do that we're gonna do a back post treble, and we are going to do a double into the same stitch on top. Gets a little more tighter toward the end of the row like this, but you can do it. I know you can. And then we're gonna put 1 double crochet into the final turning chain, and that would complete off row number 3. So this is what it looks like at this moment. So let's turn our work and begin row number 4. So this is the second portion of the repeat pattern. So rows number 3 and 4 are the repeat pattern. Let's begin. We're gonna start off by chaining 3. Okay, it says to double crochet into the next stitch, skip 2 stitches, and then front post treble and 2 double crochets into the next. Essentially what you need to do at this point is that you need to repeat exactly what you're seeing here. Okay, so we're gonna be shifting. So all these fans kind of like go into each other, like they're kind of just bouncing in between each other. So this time the fan that you see here is going to be what you're seeing right up coming up right here. So if you can remember that, you're laughing pretty much. So let's double crochet into the next stitch. Okay, so we're gonna double crochet into the next stitch like so. Skip 2 stitches, which makes sense, and then you're into these 2 that are standing below, by themselves. Do you see that? And we're going to do the repeat fan. So with row number 4 we're looking at the pattern, so therefore we're gonna do the front post treble. So when you cannot see the pattern in behind, that's back post treble crochet in order to make that work. So all the pattern stays on the front side. So we're gonna start off with the front post treble, and then 2 double crochets into the same one. So you already know how to do this. We've already done it before. The only difference is how you start the row. Okay, oops, I kind of screwed up there. So it's 2 double crochets right into that same one. Okay, next one is 2 double crochets to start, and then finish it off with the front post treble into the same one. So do you see how this fan, it's equaling? So this is exactly, doesn't get any harder than this. So now you have your group of 6. You can either skip over 2, you'll have the right number, or just look for the middle 2 of the 6. I just look for the middle 2 of the 6. I don't even bother to count because I know it's right. Let's begin again. So we're gonna play within these 2 here that are in between the fans. We're gonna start off with the front post treble, and then 2 double crochets into the same stitch. So it's 1/2 of the fan, and let's do another one. So the next one is 2 double crochets into the same one, and then polish it off with a front post treble. Continue that same patterning going all the way across. You are going to repeat 3 and 4 for the duration of this block, and then I'll show you how to do the border. When you're coming up on the end of row number 4, you got your last fan in there, and so you're skipping 2 stitches, and the final 2 stitches of this row will just be 1 double crochet into each. So you're gonna go back and do 3 and 4, 3 and 4, continue to do that all the way for your particular block. When we look at the actual pattern, we can actually just decipher that, and I'll be right back. So as per the instructions, don't worry about all the writing that I do. I tend to write on my patterns. So rows 5 through 20 will be repeating rows 3 to 4, and you will do that a total of 8 times. So you want to continue to do that. So when you're about to do the border, you have to make sure that you're finishing on row number 4. So whatever you do, make sure that you end on row number 4 for whatever you do in order to get this border to be proper. Let's begin to do the border. So you're gonna finish on row number 4, which is the last one I just finished. Obviously you'll have a lot more to your block, but this is how you'll do it. You'll turn your work, and you'll immediately just single crochet. So I never crocheted up one at all. I never chained up one. I just crochet across the top. That's how easy it is. So you're just gonna go into every stitch across the top, and then when we get to the corners, you're gonna put in 3 single crochets as you turn the corner. And so the big deal on these is that there are 3 other blocks that go with this Afghan. You have to make sure that the counts going across and down match. Okay, so down the sides of the edges that you're going to do is that you have to make sure that when you're working down is that you're gonna put 41 single crochets all the way down, and you just have to evenly space it. There's no stitch work in there for you to be able to say, okay, that's a stitch, that's a stitch. You just have to equally space 41. Now you have to get 41 because the other blocks that go with this Afghan all have 41 too. So if you have more than too many, you're gonna have your particular square buckle, and if you don't have enough, it's gonna cause it to really kind of have a weird stretch to it. So you just have to single crochet all the way around, and then on the side edges, even on the side, 41 equally spaced. On the bottom there's enough there, so you'll have your stitches already. You just follow it along as you saw, and basically that's as easy as it gets. And the final border on this whole project is just single crochet all the way around with 3 single crochets in the corners to make it work. So hopefully you've enjoyed this today on behalf of the Crochet Crowd as well as Yarnspirations.com. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you. We have one more block to go. So blocks 1, 2, and now this is 3 is ready to go, and let's go for number 4 next. We'll see you.